How to grow kale that actually tastes good. Most kale ends up tough, bitter, and sad-looking in the grocery store. That's not how kale has to be. Grown right, kale turns sweet, tender, and full of flavor, and it keeps producing for months without much fuss. Stick with me until the end, because the harvest trick in this video is the one thing that turns bitter kale into the best green in your garden. Choosing the right kale variety. Not all kale is the same, and picking the right type makes a big difference. Curly kale has ruffled leaves and a bold, chewy bite. Lacinato kale, sometimes called dinosaur kale, has flat, dark leaves and a milder, sweeter taste. Red Russian kale has soft, tender leaves with purple stems, and it tends to hold up well in warm weather. There's also Siberian kale, which handles cold snaps better than most other types and keeps growing even after a hard frost hits. Some gardeners like to plant 2 or 3 different kale types in the same bed. This way, if one variety struggles with heat or a random cold snap, the others often keep chugging along just fine. If you live somewhere hot, look for varieties bred to handle heat without turning bitter. Kale actually likes cool weather best, so in Zone 9, fall through early spring is the real growing season. Planting in late summer or early fall gives the plants time to grow strong before the coldest nights hit, and cooler temperatures later on make the leaves even sweeter. Pick a variety that matches your climate and your taste, and the rest of the growing process gets a lot easier. Picking the right plant is step 1, but where you put that plant in the ground matters just as much. Getting the soil ready. Kale needs soil that's loose, rich, and full of good stuff for roots to grow into. Work compost into the top few inches of soil before planting. This feeds the plant and helps the soil hold water without staying soggy. Kale likes soil with a pH between 6 and 7.5. Soil that's too acidic or too sweet can lock up nutrients, even if you've fed the plant well. A simple soil test before planting tells you exactly where you stand, so you're not guessing later when growth slows down for no clear reason. Raised beds work great for kale, since they warm up faster in the cooler months and drain well when heavy rain rolls through. If you're planting straight into garden soil instead, work in a few inches of compost across the whole bed, not just in the planting holes. This spreads out the nutrients evenly, so roots don't just chase compost in one small pocket while the rest of the soil stays thin and weak. Space plants about 12 to 18 inches apart. Kale leaves get big, and crowded plants block airflow between each other. Less airflow means more moisture sitting on the leaves, and that invites disease. Give each plant room to spread out, and airflow does a lot of the disease prevention work on its own. Good soil sets the stage, but kale still needs the right amount of light and water to really take off. Sun, water, and spacing. Kale grows best with 6 hours of sun each day. In cooler months, full sun works great and helps the plant grow fast and full. Once temperatures climb back up in late spring, a little afternoon shade helps protect the leaves from turning bitter and tough in the heat. Water kale deeply once or twice a week, aiming for about an inch of water total. Deep watering pushes roots down into the soil, which makes the plant stronger and more able to handle dry spells. Shallow, frequent watering does the opposite. It keeps roots near the surface, where they dry out fast and stress the plant. Water at the base of the plant instead of overhead. Wet leaves sitting in cool, humid weather are the perfect setup for fungal problems. Keep the leaves as dry as you can, and you'll cut down on disease before it even starts. Mulch around the base of each plant with straw or shredded leaves. This keeps soil moisture steady between waterings and stops weeds from popping up and stealing water and nutrients meant for your kale. A 2-inch layer works well. Just keep the mulch a couple inches back from the stem so it doesn't trap extra moisture right against the plant. Get the water and light right, and the plant channels all that energy straight into growing bigger, better leaves. Before we move to the next part, hit that subscribe button now so you catch every video the moment it goes up. Feeding kale for bigger leaves. Kale is a hungry plant, and it needs steady feeding to keep producing big, tender leaves all season long. Start with a balanced fertilizer at planting time to give young plants a strong start. As the plant grows, switch to a fertilizer higher in nitrogen, since nitrogen drives leafy green growth better than any other nutrient. Feed every 3 to 4 weeks during the growing season. Skipping feedings leads to smaller, tougher leaves since kale pulls a lot of nutrients from the soil as it grows. A steady feeding schedule keeps the plant fueled instead of running on empty halfway through the season. Watch the older, bottom leaves for signs of nitrogen shortage. If they turn pale yellow while the rest of the plant looks fine, that's the plant asking for more nitrogen. Catching this early and adjusting your feeding keeps the whole plant lush and productive instead of stalling out. Compost tea is another great option if you want a gentler feeding between regular fertilizer applications. It delivers nutrients in a form that's easy for roots to soak up fast, without the risk of burning the plant the way a strong synthetic fertilizer sometimes can. A light dose every couple of weeks keeps plants steady without overwhelming them. A well-fed kale plant doesn't just survive. It keeps pushing out new leaves faster than you can pick them. Dealing with pests and problems. Kale draws in a few pests that can do real damage fast. Cabbage worms and aphids are the most common troublemakers, and they can chew through leaves or suck out plant juices until the plant weakens. Check the undersides of leaves regularly, since that's where pests like to hide and lay eggs. Row covers work well to keep flying pests like cabbage moths from landing on your plants in the first place. This stops the problem before eggs even get laid, which is a lot easier than dealing with worms after they've already hatched. Companion planting can help too. Herbs like dill and cilantro attract helpful insects that hunt down pests like aphids before they get out of control. Planting a few of these herbs near your kale gives you a natural pest patrol working the bed for you without spraying anything at all. Good airflow between plants, along with keeping the area free of dead leaves and plant debris, cuts down on places for pests and disease to hide. A clean growing area is one of the simplest ways to keep problems from taking hold in the first place. Catch pest problems early, deal with them fast, and your kale plants can shake off most issues without missing a beat in growth. Harvesting kale the right way. Here's the part that changes everything about how your kale tastes. Most people pick kale too early or too late, and that's exactly why store-bought kale tastes bitter and tough. The trick is picking outer leaves first, once they reach about the size of your hand, and leaving the small center leaves alone to keep growing. This method is called cut-and-come-again harvesting, and it keeps the plant producing for months instead of just once. Picking outer leaves signals the plant to keep pushing out new growth from the center, so you get a steady supply of fresh leaves all season instead of one big harvest and then nothing. Timing also matters a lot for flavor. A light frost actually makes kale sweeter, since cold temperatures push the plant to produce more sugar as a kind of natural protection. If you're growing kale through a cooler stretch, don't rush to pick everything before a frost hits. Let a light frost happen first, then harvest and taste the difference for yourself. Pick in the morning when leaves are cool and full of water. Leaves picked in the heat of the day tend to wilt fast and lose some of their crisp texture. Handle the leaves gently once picked, since bruised kale breaks down faster in storage and loses quality quicker than leaves that were handled with care. Store harvested leaves in a loose bag in the fridge, and they'll stay fresh and crisp for well over a week. Avoid washing leaves until right before you plan to use them, since extra moisture sitting on the leaves in storage speeds up wilting and makes them break down faster than leaves kept dry until it's time to cook. Follow this harvest method, and one healthy kale plant can keep feeding you fresh greens for months, all while getting sweeter as the weather cools. That's all for now. Subscribe to see more.